We are not criminals. We are not thieves.
I want to assure you that we are all committed to conducting a thorough and impartial investigation across all areas outlined in the Senate resolution of 3rd July 2024. For ease of reference, the terms of reference include to examine the pre-shipment and pre-discharge standard test parameters adopted by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority with a view to uncovering loopholes, if any, being exploited to get toxic cargoes into the country. 2, to determine the level of compliance of the NNPCL's direct sale, direct purchase arrangement in line with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, including the extent of transparency and accountability in the scheme. 3, to beam legislative searchlight on the activities of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, including payments made to transporters in the last 10 years. Also, to inquire from the NNPCL the state and/or status of the 22 depots built by the defunct NNPC to eliminate road distribution of petroleum products. Further, to engage with stakeholders within the oil and gas industry with a view to identifying possible gaps in regulating and strengthening the surveillance and monitoring structures in place to enable Nigeria to detect violations of best practice standards in the importation of products before they enter into the domestic supply chains. Also, to engage with the NNPCL with a view to understanding the extent of its determination and timeliness for the startup of government-funded oil refineries. To investigate how institutions across the importation and distribution chain failed to conduct quality sampling, shipped in products without auditing, and performed port validations by the Nigerian Customs Service, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Standards Organization of Nigeria, and Nigerian Ports Authority, and such other consequential amendments the ad hoc committee deems fit. Distinguished stakeholders, it is imperative that we all approach this process with integrity and cooperation. There will be no room for grandstanding, and I want to make it crystal clear that no one will be exempted from scrutiny. Our collective goal is to serve the overriding public interest, and it is essential that each stakeholder actively contributes towards this noble cause.
For the 2024 budget, we had estimated and projected 1.78 million barrels per day. We are below that target at the moment. Although production is moving up, I believe, and we have the experts here, but I believe we're at about 1.6 million barrels per day. And we have a commitment that we'll be able to reach 2 million barrels per day, and that is critical. And why it is critical is that that is the first source that we look to for foreign exchange, as well as government revenue. And at a time where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policies are geared at stabilizing the economy, a critical aspect of that is the inflow of foreign exchange to stabilize the exchange rate, enable the exchange rate even to appreciate, thereby helping to reduce inflation, and that will now lead to the central bank and the monetary authorities being in a position to lower interest rates and therefore encourage investment to get the economy going. And as we know, investment is the basis on which we can increase productivity, grow the economy, create jobs, and reduce poverty. So it is critical that NNPC, that the oil sector as a whole performs. And that's why the fiscal environment has been improved. We all know the oil is there. It is the investment environment that encourages private investors to come in, produce the oil, and therefore earn the revenues, especially in this era of moving away from fossil fuels. NNPC has even declared a war on oil production. We know of the issues of insecurity, issues of damage that have limited and made us come below the budget. Well, there is a commitment to dealing with these issues. And the focus also remains in the oil and gas industry in improving incentives. Already, Mr. President has signed some executive orders which have meant that oil and gas investments, particularly in the gas sector, have started to flow back. We saw a $500 million investment just a couple of weeks ago, and we are told that about $7 billion. There was a $500 million investment already made, and around $7 billion on the sidelines, waiting for the correct investment environment.
We're very happy, to be given this opportunity to appear before you today. And as a Ministry of Petroleum that has the responsibility of coordinating the activities of the sector, we are here to clearly commit that we will fully cooperate with this committee. We will supply all relevant information that is needed by this committee so that we can collectively solve the problems. Mr. Chairman, this is one sector that is bedeviled by a lot of misinformation. This is one sector. I've been minister before. Between 2015 and 2019, I was minister in Agric. And now I'm minister in petroleum. This is one sector that has a lot of misinformation. And so I'm very happy that today we have an opportunity to be able to straighten, some of those, misinformations. And I believe that if the Senate can do Nigerians a favor by, televising the proceedings of this committee live, it will do a whole lot of justice, not only to the Senate, but to we in the executive, to those key leaders of the industry, from NNPC, from NNPCL, from NUPRC, from Dangote Refinery, from Modular refiners. I think that would do a whole lot of good to all of us. I say so with a higher sense of responsibility. Because when I was in the Senate in 2007, in 2008 I was appointed chairman of the other committee. We made a mistake by not, doing live broadcast. And at the end of the day, what happens, in the committee here is different from what is put out to the public. And because of the fundamental nature of this investigation, that has to do with economic sabotage, with alleged economic sabotage, with the importation of substandard products to the country, I believe that it is important that the Senate, ensure that we do a live broadcast. So that whatever senators say, Nigerians will get to hear it real time. Whatever anybody you have invited also says, it will also, get to Nigerians, real time.
Mr. Chairman, we are faithful, loyal, and committed to the progress and development of this country. We are Nigerians. I'm not sure we lie to this country. We do not, Mr. Chairman. It is our duty to protect the overall interests of this country by the provisions of the law, Mr. Chairman. The Petroleum Industry Act, the Company and Allied Matters Act, and other enabling regulations and laws that govern the activity of the oil and gas industry. Mr. Chairman, we are not in breach of any one of them. Mr. Chairman, the NNPC is a company owned by over 200 million Nigerians. And I happen to be the chief executive of this company. And the law is clear around what the chief executive of this company will do. Our memorandum and article of association, the Petroleum Industry Act, and all other enabling, including CAMA, which was legislation by this Honorable National Assembly. They are clear that the board and management of NNPC must maximize value for this company, Mr. Chairman. This company cannot have negative profits for 3 years. The CAMA says you can shut it down. Mr. Chairman, it's our job to protect this company, but it's also our job to protect other businesses around us. Mr. Chairman, let me be specific. And I will wait for the public hearing, and I also agree with my Honorable Minister that it should be broadcast live so that Nigerians will hear us, so that all the misinformation that you see today will be put beside, so that Nigerians will know the truth. And all of us here see what's happening in the media. Targeted personal attack on my person, on the institution. And we all know how this works. They are deliberate, they are calculated, so that create the impression that the NNPC Limited and our leadership are doing anything to create economic sabotage in our country. It is far from it, Mr. Chairman. This company has grown, Mr. Chairman. We are proud to say this. From a lost company for 43 years to a profit-making company today, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it is very clear from everything you have said through this investigative hearing that you can see the majority of the issues you have raised have nothing to do with the NNPC Limited. NNPC has nothing to do with imports of products that are substandard. It is very clear, Mr. Chairman. There are rules, there are regulators. We follow the rules. Nobody will bring product into this country that doesn't make specifications. If it does happen, it's crime. It couldn't have passed through any regulatory institution. It is impossible. We all know what happens. Smuggling does take place. And I'm happy that the Customs Service is here. No one can deny that smuggling takes place across our border, but for PMS and every other commodity that you can think of. This is real, Mr. Chairman. When the details come, we will tell you what we know. And we're after no one. We are persecuting nobody. We are not criminals. We are not thieves. We are serving our country, and we believe very, very strongly that we're faithful, loyal to this country. And that this Senate, and I believe this very, very strongly, that we protect our dignity so that we can serve this country. Tomorrow will come. That tomorrow may not be on this world. It will be in the hereafter. And we believe that there's eternal accountability. And we understand very clearly that this president means well. This president has supported every process that is bringing back value to the oil and gas industry. The oil and gas industry is bleeding, Mr. Chairman. We can't speak. There are things we know we don't say. And that's why I agree with the Honorable Minister that even the things we won't say, we'll say them when the right time.
I'm very pleased for the opportunity to be here on behalf of that is NUPRC, to be given the privilege for us to participate at this very important committee to give insight into our activities as the Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, at least to be able to inform Nigerians as to our role and, of course, have the opportunity to dispel some of the misinformation like the Honorable Minister has said and my other colleagues that have spoken. Mr. Chairman, I want to say, like some of my colleagues have said, that some of us serve this country, we sleep for less than 3 hours on a daily basis. That we are very patriotic Nigerians, and we try to work within the ambit of the law. And that in the course of this investigative committee, we shall duly account for our stewardship as relates to the statutory mandate of the organization. Of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity not only to stand here, but to be invited so that I can hear our side. We're not here to give the details, but just to reassure the honorable committee that Nigerians have all had only one side of the argument. We've been bombarded, abused, accused, maligned, but we're not heard. So just like the honorable minister has said, it is an opportunity for Nigerians to hear from the side of not only Farouk Ahmed, but NNPCL. So I actually am happy, I'm pleased, and elated that the hearing will be made public and live on TV because we have been unfairly treated, not only by the Nigerian press, but the very senior Nigerians, very high, of high places, because of misinformation. Obviously, it's not their fault. It was information that was polluted, misrepresented.
Let me start by giving you an update, a progress update on the Dangote Refinery. Mr. Chairman, I would like to let you know that since the refinery started we had trial production in January, and then full-time production started in March. Since then, we've processed about 50 million barrels of crude. We've produced about 5 million tons of petroleum products. And these petroleum products have been sold in various parts of the country. Our jet has been sold in Europe since May. We've been sending jet to Europe. Other products have been sent to places as far as Asia, US, Brazil, and so on. So the refinery has been making a lot of progress. We just basically have 3 questions that we think we should look at by the committee and also as Nigerians. The first question is, do local refineries deserve protection from dumping? That's the first question. Second question is, should Nigeria protect its infant industries in order to encourage investment? And then the third question is, should local refineries have preferential access to Nigerian crude? Those really are our questions that we'll want this committee to consider. On the first one, as I've said, we've produced 5 million tons of products, but of those 5 million tons, about 90% of it had to be exported. While at the same time, products we were producing are being reimported into Nigeria. We find ourselves competing against Russian products that are being produced with oil that is valued at $60. We all know that because of the cap that has been put on oil, on Russian oil, the value of Russian oil today in the market is $60. And that's what Russia is using to produce their products. And those products are being sent in large quantities into Africa to compete with products that are produced in refineries that buy crude at $90. We don't think this will be a fair competitive environment. And I think even under the rules of WTO, when you have such unfair competition, it is normal to put protective measures. US, for example, has done that to protect their own industries against attack by China that subsidizes their own industries and then sends them to US. So that's the first question. We want the committee to consider, do we deserve protection against dumping? The second, as a nascent industry, refineries, I think we can all agree, even though NNPCL has run refineries, but for the private sector, it's new. And generally, when you start a new refinery, it takes at least 2 years to stabilize. You go through a process of stabilization, you'll be struggling with the refinery, ramp up your capacity, bring new units, and so on, get your processes, your financing, and all that. It takes at least 2 years. If within this period, you don't allow this baby, you don't give it some protection. I think even in the animal world, when a new baby is born, they don't just throw it, leave it out in the wilderness, right? There's some protection that is provided in order for it to grow and be able to compete. So during this period, the question we're asking is, and it's not just refinery, but Nigeria as a country, should we look at protecting our nascent industries in order for them to thrive? That's the second question. Essentially, we want to be able to sell more of our products. Okay. We want to be able to sell more of our products in Nigeria because we believe we can do that, we can compete. And even though there are concerns that have been expressed around monopoly, that is a problem that has been identified. The right thing to do is to say, how do we address this problem? If monopoly is a risk, how do we address this risk while at the same time ensuring that we protect our domestic industries? And the good thing is that in the PIA, there are provisions around that. NMDPRA can monitor and take action if they feel there's monopoly. And it's very clear, the actions that are to be taken. The last question is around crude. Right now, as I said, we've bought about 50 million barrels of crude. About 60% of that comes from NNPC, and we're thankful to them for their support. And we hope we'll continue to get this support. About 20% of that had to be imported from outside, and then 20% we purchased. Essentially, all we are asking for crude, and let's be very clear, we are happy to pay fair prices. We don't complain about, we don't go and haggle with NNPC. We are very happy with the price that they set, price like supermarket, and that's the way we buy it, right? But what we buy from others is what we think the regulator should look at, and the good thing is the regulator has published a guideline that will address some of this. And we hope that we'll work with the regulator and we'll get their support so that 100% of Nigerian crude, the refinery can get 100% of its crude from Nigeria and buy the crude from companies that produce it in Nigeria, not from international middlemen. Whatever the price is, as long as it is in Nigeria, and that's the price also that the producer will pay their tax on, we'll be happy to pay that. So that's our third question. And we count on support of the committee, the regulators, and other stakeholders to ensure that the refinery succeeds, because if it does, aside from the other obvious benefits, like FX generation, job creation, and the rest, most importantly, there is this psychological benefit of giving Nigerians and Africans in general the confidence that we can succeed. We can build big things and make them successful. And that in itself is invaluable. One more
Stakeholder, then I'll go to our security chiefs. We have customs here and we have Navy. We also hear from both of them. So, and just before them, we'll take Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN.
This is Abdul Kabir Adisa Aliu. I'm the CEO of Matrix Energy Limited and a member of DAPMAN. It's a great pleasure and honor that DAPMAN and myself are being invited for this investigation going on. We're also happy that we all agree this should come live so that Nigeria can have sufficient and adequate information. But I will go straight to the point. We, DAPMAN and Matrix Energy, we are all Nigerians, we are investors, and we are passionate about this country. Myself, all my educations are in Nigeria, and we have invested heavily in this country. Matrix Energy today has over 2,700 staff. We do this because we believe in this country. But when people go to the media to attack people, I think it goes beyond money, beyond business. It is something that has a lot of psychological effect. We are being accused, both DAPMAN and Matrix Energy, for bringing product from Russia or from other countries. But it's strange to me, as I'm not aware that Nigeria has banned or stopped importation of product for some countries. The most important thing to us is, and the most important thing to every responsible government, is to make good and product available to the people at affordable price. Monopoly kills business. And when people invest without doing the needful, that is why you see them, they accuse everybody. I will go straight, I will make reference to one or 2 points. You see Nigerians today are crying that the price of foodstuff is high. Somebody published the result of his company yesterday, making over 133 billion in 6 months. The profit is coming from where? Sugar. Nigerians are paying more because Nigerians are not allowed to import sugar. We buy from the monopolistic people.
That man, we are not.
Yes, sir.
Again, I said this is not the public. This is not a public hearing.
It's okay. The most important thing, sir, is that we are in support of what the Senate is doing, and at appropriate time, we will speak our mind. We are Nigerians, we are businessmen, we have done what is required to stabilize energy supply in the country, and we will continue to support the government in ensuring that product is adequately available at affordable price.
We are responsible for larger distribution of petroleum products across nooks and crannies of this country, despite all challenges. If man is willing to collaborate with other stakeholders and government institutions, such as NNPCL, NDPPRA, to augment NNPC retail and other value chain in the downstream sector, it is pertinent to note that the value chain in the downstream should be sustained to allow other investors to continue to play their role effectively.
The Nigerian Navy coordinates and assists in the enforcement of bunkering laws in compliance with Section 217 of the Constitution and Section 4 of the Armed Forces Act. And in execution of these mandates, the Navy works with the industry regulators seated in front here, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NMDPRA, and NNPCL. And the Navy is very, very well integrated.
Good afternoon, distinguished senators. Good afternoon, honorable ministers present. My name is Momo Oyarikwa. I'm the chairman of Koran, Crude Oil Refinery Owners Association of Nigeria. I'm here to speak on some of the few issues we have had as refiners, and it's not so different from what Aliyu from Dangote Refinery has said. I mean, we started, I think Dangote is the only company that started before us. Our company name is OPAC, and they started, I think, about 2013, and we started about 2017. And about 2021, we actually started to do our reliability test. And it was a challenge for us to even get crude for our reliability test. We have gone to almost all the institutions, both government and private. Till this moment, as I speak, our refinery is a 10,000 barrel refinery, which was completed 2021 and started operation 2022. We are operating at about 3% capacity, a refinery of 10,000 barrels. That means we are not even getting up to 1,000 barrels per day. What that means is that we are not just the only one that are challenged in this way. There are other modular refineries that are also challenged in this way. We have made several cases in several media to say that why are we in the refinery business? We are all in the refinery business for one purpose. First and foremost, to help the country to save the effects that is being used for the importation of products into the country, because once you refine product locally, what that means is that there is no need to source for FS for importation of any product. And so what that does is that the effects that everybody is looking for, the pressure that is on FX today, it will drastically reduce. I have made instances. For example, we own a 10,000 barrel refinery. 10,000 barrel in 30 days will give you 30,000 barrels. And in a year, that's going to give you about 300,000 barrels, meaning 360,000 barrels. And if the average price of crude is $100, my refinery alone is going to require about $3.6 million to purchase crude. If you have, today, modular refineries, you have about 27,000 capacity of modular refinery. If you multiply...
Sir, please remember you have 2 minutes. You can round up with that point.
I'll be rounding up. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that you cannot overemphasize what the Dangote guy has said, protecting local industry. We produce product into the local market. Our income is in Naira. We want to purchase product in Naira. We want adequate supply. For example, our refinery is currently rusting away because we do not have enough crude to refine in the last 2 to 3 years of kickstarting the refinery. I'm sure Edo Refinery has the same challenge and some other refineries have the same challenge. Let me stop there. Thank you very much.
I'm here to present the compliments of the Chief of Naval Staff and the entire officers and men of the Nigerian Navy to this distinguished committee. The position of the Navy is that all hands need to be on deck to address the challenges bedeviling the oil and gas sector of our great country. And accordingly, this interactive session is well-timed and well-needed to work towards developing workable solutions towards impacting the industry. The Nigerian Navy coordinates and assists in the enforcement of bunkering laws in compliance with Section 217 of the Constitution and Section 4 of the Armed Forces Act. And in execution of this mandate, the Navy works with the industry regulators seated in front here, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NMDPRA, and NNPCL. And the Navy is very, very well integrated. To this end, just on the 30th of July 2024, the Chief of Naval Staff hosted a stakeholders meeting at the Naval Headquarters, and all of them were represented. And I'm proud to say that our deep, very deep collaboration aligns with Mr. President's mandate towards producing 2 million barrels per day. In fact, I'm proud to say that the NUPRC, and we are grateful to the Commission Chief Executive, we are grateful to the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL, has mandated a workshop for the 14th and 15th of August for fiscalization training of naval operatives who will join the transparency process of the hydrocarbon sector.
The Nigerian Customs Service is saddled with 4 main functions, which is revenue collection, anti-smuggling activities, trade facilitation of both export, import, and transit trade, and also implementation of government policies. On maritime patrol, the service is only allowed to patrol 24 nautical miles radius from the shore. We undertake both fiscalization and defiscalization with NUPRC, and also we look into the permits granted by NMDPRA for the exports of petroleum products. What the gaps we identified in this is that we all do office-specific automation. We need to see ourselves. Whatever NUPRC is doing, NMPDA is doing, customs also need to see. So there should be an automated process whereby we have an application program interface, so that because we do fiscalization and defiscalization with you, but we only do that of quantity. Quality depends on the regulator. So if we can see ourselves via automation, this would also take care of smuggling of some of these products. So automation is key. Then the service is about procuring 2 sea-going vessels. Then we have some of our boats. We are also trying to take approval from UNCSA so that we can mount the boats for patrols. We are in collaboration with Nigerian Navy at all times. Places where we cannot go to, the Navy is always there to take us there. But sometimes, because of logistic problems, we are always dependent on the IOCs and the stakeholders. So if they don't provide these equipment, we may not be able to do our job with Navy and even NUPRC and the downstream regulators. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to look into the gaps and find a way to ameliorate this problem.